So I did the thing. A few weeks back, I tore off a sheet of aluminum foil, crushed it into a ball about the size of a plum, lifted the porcelain lid off a toilet tank in my own house, and dropped it in. Because the internet has been telling everybody that foil in the tank softens your water, stops limescale, and keeps the whole tank clean through some kind of ionizing action. I left it in there for weeks, and when I pulled that lid off again, the water was exactly the same water. Same hardness on the test strip. Same chalky ring starting on the porcelain. Nothing softened, nothing dissolved, nothing cleaned. But the foil itself had changed. It came out dull and gray and blotchy, like it had been through something. And that right there is the whole reason millions of people believe this works. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, I am going to show you the one thing that ball of foil is genuinely worth doing. And it has nothing to do with your toilet. It works, it is free, and almost nobody uses it right. If you asked 10 homeowners what a ball of foil does in a toilet tank, 9 of them would tell you it softens the water. They would say it the way you say something you learned a long time ago and never question. And they are not being stupid. They are borrowing from something real. Here is what they are borrowing from. Take a piece of tarnished silver, a sterling spoon that has gone black on you, put it in a glass bowl lined with aluminum foil, pour in hot water with baking soda dissolved in it, and make sure the spoon is physically touching that foil. The black lifts off the silver in front of your eyes. No scrubbing, no polish, no elbow grease. That is not a hack. That is documented chemistry that has been in science classrooms for decades. The reason it works is worth understanding, because understanding it is what lets you spot the fake version. That black on your silver is silver sulfide. Sulfur out of the air bonded to the surface of the metal. Aluminum wants sulfur more than silver does. So when the two metals touch inside that hot electrolyte solution, a tiny electric current flows between them. The aluminum gives up electrons, and the silver takes them, and the sulfide converts right back into metallic silver, while the sulfur walks over and attaches itself to the foil. The polish is not scraped off. It is reversed. Now count the conditions that reaction needs, because there are 3 of them, and every single one matters. It needs the 2 metals in direct contact with each other, because that is what lets the current flow. It needs an electrolyte, which is just a fancy word for or water, with something dissolved in it that carries electric charge, and that is the baking soda's whole job. And it needs heat, because like nearly every chemical reaction, it runs faster warm, and it crawls cold. 3 conditions. Now go stand over your toilet tank and check them off. Is there a target metal in contact with the foil? No. Your flapper is rubber. Your fill valve is plastic. Your overflow tube is plastic. There's no tarnished silver in there, waiting to trade electrons with anything. The foil is sitting alone in a plastic and porcelain box. Is there an electrolyte? Not in any meaningful sense. Your tank holds ordinary municipal water. It has dissolved minerals in it, sure, but it is nothing like a strong baking soda solution built specifically to carry current. Is there heat? Your tank water sits at whatever temperature comes out of the cold supply line. In an older house on a slab that is cool year-round. On the coldest reaction terms you could design, this is about as cold as it gets. 0 for 3. And that is before you get to what aluminum actually does when it sits in cold, neutral water, which is almost nothing. Bare aluminum grabs oxygen and forms a thin, tough oxide skin on its own surface, and that skin seals the metal underneath and stops the process. Chemists call it passivation. Think of it like a scab. The metal cuts itself once, scabs over, and then just sits there. That oxide skin is the gray, blotchy, tired-looking foil I pulled out of my tank. It looks dramatic. It looks like evidence. Something clearly happened in there. But what happened is that the foil aged. It did not treat your water. It did not do one thing to that porcelain. It just sat in a cold tank and got a little older. The same way a nail left outside gets a little older. And I want to be precise about the softening claim, because that word gets thrown around loosely. Hard water means dissolved calcium and magnesium. Those minerals came into your house, dissolved in the water, and they leave dissolved in the water, and the only way to actually remove them is ion exchange, which is what a real water softener does with resin beads and salt, or a chemical that grabs and holds them. A ball of metal sitting quietly in a cold tank does not have a mechanism to do that. There is no pathway. It is not a weak version of softening. It is not softening at all. So that is the verdict, straight, no hedging. Foil in the toilet tank does not soften your water, does not prevent lime scale, and does not clean your tank. And that wasn't even the part that concerns me, but I want to spend a minute on why this one spread, because the reason is more interesting than the hack, and it is the same reason the next 12 of these will spread too. Foil has a reputation. It has earned a reputation. Ball it up and it scours a burnt pan better than a sponge. Fold it over and it sharpens a dull pair of scissors. Line a bowl with it and it genuinely resurrects tarnished silver, which we just went through. So foil arrives with credibility already attached to it, and when somebody puts it somewhere new, your brain does not start from zero. It starts from foil works. Then the tank version gets one more thing going for it, which is that it produces a visible result. Most internet hacks fail the 2-week test because nothing changes and people quietly stop. This one does not fail that way. You come back in a few weeks, you lift the lid, and the foil is gray and mottled and clearly different from the shiny ball you dropped in. That is your proof, right there in your hand, except it is proof of the wrong thing. The foil changed. The water did not. And nobody bothers to check the second half of that sentence, because who tests their water hardness before and after an internet trick? Nearly nobody. So the claim never gets falsified. It just gets repeated by people who saw something happen and reasonably assumed the something was the thing they were promised. There's a reason this one keeps circulating while other hacks die quietly. It comes with its own built-in receipt. Before I get into the part that actually costs people money, one quick thing. Telling a fix that works from a fix that only looks like it is working. That is the whole spine of my book. 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. It covers when a cheap patch is not a real repair, and how to ask a contractor questions that get you a straight answer instead of a sales pitch. Link is in the description, QR code on your screen. Enter the blue tablet. Because while everybody has been arguing about foil, which is harmless nonsense, there is a product sitting in millions of tanks right now that is doing genuine damage. You know the one. The little puck you drop in the tank so the water turns blue, and every flush is supposedly self-cleaning. They get sold as bleach tablets, chlorine tablets, or in-tank drop-in cleaners, and they are all the same idea. Now, I'm not asking you to take my word on this, because you do not have to. Fluid Master makes the fill valves and flappers in a very large share of American toilets. Their own warning, in capital letters on their own material, says, do not use in-tank drop-in toilet bowl cleaners containing bleach or chlorine. That use of such products will result in damage to tank components and may cause flooding and property damage. And that use of such products voids the Fluid Master warranty. That is the manufacturer. About their own parts, Kohler does the same thing, voiding the toilet warranty for in-tank cleaners, unless you are using their own system. I mean, think about that for a second. A company that sells replacement parts that makes money when your parts wear out is going out of its way to tell you to stop using something that wears your parts out faster. When the guy selling the parts tells you to stop breaking the parts, that is not marketing. That is a company that got tired of warranty claims. Here is the physical reason, and it is the same reason old rubber goes bad anywhere in your house. Chlorine is an oxidizer. It attacks rubber and plastic on a molecular level and takes away the flexibility. The flapper at the bottom of your tank is a rubber disc whose entire job is to sit down soft and make a watertight seal against a plastic or brass seat. It has to stay pliable. It has to squish, just slightly, into that seat. Soak it in chlorine around the clock, and it stops squishing. It goes stiff. It curls at the edges. It hardens like an old rubber band you find at the back of a drawer that snaps the second you stretch it. And there are numbers on that. Fluid Master's own position is that their valves and flappers carry a 5 to 7 year warranty and typically run longer than that when left alone. Drop a bleach puck in there, and those same parts can start leaking inside a year or two. So you are taking a part with most of a decade in it and getting maybe 18 months. The bolts and washers that hold your tank to the bowl corrode faster in that same environment too. And those you do not see at all until you see water on the floor. The same tablet marketed to keep your tank clean is the thing destroying the one part that keeps your tank from leaking. That is the whole irony of it. And this is where things stopped being funny for me because of what a stiff flapper actually does. It does not fail loudly. It does not gush. It stops sealing by a hair, and water trickles from the tank into the bowl, continuously, silently, day and night. You do not hear it. There's nothing on the floor, and there's nothing to see. The EPA's WaterSense program puts a worn flapper leak at up to 200 gallons a day. 200 gallons out of one toilet quietly while you sleep. Depending on where you live and what your utility charges for water and sewer, that is roughly $50 to $100 a month. And in expensive water markets, it runs well past that. That is the kind of number that makes accountants cry. And the whole time you're paying it, nothing in your bathroom looks wrong. The part that costs the money is a flapper. $5 to $15 at any hardware store. 10 minutes, no tools beyond your hands. That is the arithmetic. $1-something puck you thought was maintenance, buying you a $5 part failure that costs you $600 a year until you catch it. So how do you catch it? Take the lid off the tank, put a few drops of food coloring in the water, and walk away for 10 or 15 minutes without flushing. Come back and look in the bowl. If there is color in the bowl, water is getting past your flapper, and you have a leak. Flush it through afterward so the dye does not stain anything. That test costs you nothing, and it is the single highest return 10 minutes in home maintenance. Now, what actually keeps a tank clean, since that is what everybody wanted from the foil in the first place? For the black or pink slime that grows in a tank, which is biological and not mineral, 3% hydrogen peroxide is your tool. That is the plain brown drugstore bottle, $1 or $2. Turn off the supply valve. Flush to drop the water level. Pour in a cup or two. Let it sit 20 minutes or so. Scrub the walls and the underside of the lid with a brush. Then flush it through. Peroxide is an oxidizer, but a mild one, and it breaks down into water and oxygen, so it leaves nothing behind. And I need to correct something, including something you will hear from people recommending peroxide, because it matters. Peroxide is not safe to leave in there permanently. It is an oxidizer, and continuous oxidizer exposure hardens rubber, which is the exact mechanism that ruins flappers with bleach tablets. Occasional treatment? Fine. A peroxide product living in your tank full time? Same problem in a slower gear. Anybody selling you a permanent in-tank oxidizer is selling you the same failure with a friendlier label. For mineral scale, the crusty white or rust-colored buildup, peroxide is the wrong tool. Scale is calcium carbonate, and you need an acid to dissolve it. Citric acid powder, about $8 to $10 for a bag that lasts you years. Dissolved in warm water, poured in, left to sit, then scrubbed and flushed through. Same rule applies. It goes in, it does its work, it leaves. It does not move in. And that is a rule that ties this entire video together. So if you remember one thing, remember this one. Nothing lives in your toilet tank full time. Not foil, not a bleach puck, not a peroxide tablet, not an acid pod, not a brick either. And yes, people still do that one. Your tank is a mechanical box full of rubber seals and plastic parts that are engineered to sit in plain water, and every single premature failure I pull out of a tank traces back to something somebody left in there on purpose, which brings me to the one real caution on the foil stunt itself, because harmless is not the same as zero risk. If you tried it, go take it out. And when you take it out, look carefully for pieces that tore loose, because foil shreds. A stray fragment that drifts down and settles on the flush valve seat, which is that circular opening the flapper closes against, will hold your flapper open a hair. And now you have manufactured the exact 200-gallon a day leak we just spent 10 minutes on, using a hack you adopted to save water. Worth also knowing that manufacturers generally treat any foreign object in the tank as grounds to void the warranty. So if that toilet is still under one, the foil is not free. Quick run through the things that actually go wrong in there so you can name what you are looking at. Toilet runs constantly with no leak in the bowl on the dye test. Usually your fill level is set too high and water is spilling over the top of the overflow tube. Adjust the float down so the water stops about an inch below the top of that tube. Costs nothing. Toilet kicks on by itself every so often when nobody touched it. That is called a phantom flush, and it means a slow leak dropped your tank level far enough that the fill valve woke up to top it off. That is a flapper or a dirty flapper seat almost every time. Flapper looks fine, but still leaks. Run your finger around the seat it lands on. If it feels gritty, that is mineral buildup, and the flapper cannot seal against a rough surface any more than a door can latch against a warped frame. Clean the seat before you buy anything. Blue stain parts and a brittle flapper. You already know. Something has been living in that tank. Now, the payoff I promised you at the top. That ball of foil is genuinely useful, just not in your tank. Take it to your chrome. The chrome fixtures in an older house, the faucet base, the shower arm, the toilet supply line, the towel bar, they get freckled with little rust and hard water spots that will not wipe off. People go after those with steel wool or a scouring pad and put permanent fine scratches in the plating. And once the chrome is scratched, you cannot get it back. Foil does not do that. And the reason is a matter of hardness. Aluminum is harder than rust, so it takes the spots off, but it is softer than chrome, so it will not cut the plating. And as you rub, friction converts some of that aluminum into aluminum oxide, which is itself a fine polishing compound. You are effectively manufacturing a gentle polish on the surface as you go. Crumple a sheet loosely. Do not pack it tight because the ridges are what do the work. Dip it in plain water and rub the spots in small circles. You will see a gray slurry come up. That is the reaction working. Wipe it off with a damp cloth and buff dry. Test a small patch first and keep it to polished chrome only, because brushed and matte finishes will scuff. So the foil was never useless. It was just in the wrong room. That pattern runs through 100 old house fixes that save you thousands. It is built to catch the small leaks before they get into your floors, ceilings, and cabinets. And it comes with the at-home checklist and the seasonal maintenance calendar, so you check the right things at the right time of year instead of hearing about it from a water bill. Link is in the description, QR code on your screen. And if you want more of this, the actual straight answer on what works and what only looks like it works, subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy, because that is what I do here every week. Old house fixes that keep the money in your pocket instead of somebody else's. As I am recording this, that foil video is still going around. It will be back in your feed inside a month, probably with a new thumbnail and a bigger claim attached to it. And now you know exactly what it does, exactly what it does not, and exactly which thing in your tank is the one actually worth worrying about. Go take the lid off. Have a look.